Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hey everybody.
Hey everyone.
I am David Bell.
I'm Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Hereditary. Spooky.
My mother was a very secretive and private woman. It's Grandma. You know you were her favorite, right? Even when you were a little baby, she wouldn't let me feed you because she needed to feed you. She was a very difficult woman, which maybe explains me.
I recognize you from your mother.
What?
Sometimes I swear I can feel them in the room.
I guess, I don't know why I want to say spoilers at the top of this.
Yeah, well, obviously,
we usually, people
have
have figured out spoilers, but this is one I don't really want to spoil.
Yeah, and I guess we'll start putting spoilers in all the episode descriptions, but if you've been listening to the podcast...
I try to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget.
You know that we spoil this shit.
Now we know why it's called Hereditary. I really like why it's called Hereditary.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I didn't like it.
Ooh.
I thought it was very, very derivative.
Yeah, it's fair.
I think the internal logic of the film was bad.
All right. Start with that.
The internal logic?
Yeah.
It felt like what you were complaining about with Cloverfield Paradox, where it's just like, let's throw this in because it's spooky, but it doesn't make sense with what's happening in the film.
Like what?
Like when Toni Collette gets flying powers at the end.
Well, I assume she was possessed by the demon, right?
Why?
I think because the idea was
the
that...
demon was... The king of hell was supposed to be going into the male body.
Right. That is very strange. I was trying to, for the
Suddenly she's
movie,
flying all over the
I was
place.
trying to figure out where the goddamn demon went. And I'm pretty sure it was in the dad.
Mm-mm.
No?
I don't think so.
Because that's why it possessed her when the dad died.
That didn't make sense either. Why did he burst into flames?
I assume it's hell rules, it's demon rules, where, all right. First of all, I want to go back. Are you a fan of, like, possession or satanic? Or, you like The Omen and shit like that?
Yeah.
Because those are also films where a demon kind of just fucks with you. And so that's what I was sort of taking it as, is that the general rule with most of these movies. And this is me doing the movie's favor, doing the movie's job for it.
Damien couldn't fly. And Damien couldn't randomly set people on fire.
Right, but there's like in The Exorcist, she can fucking fling people across the room, and the thing.
Yeah, but they
floats.
established that.
Yeah,
like they throw in Toni Collette flying at the end, and then she teleports into the attic to saw her head off with a piano wire.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking weird.
So just osmose through the wood to get into the attic.
I don't know. Yeah, she must have like snuck in with her little creepy crawly powers.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it made me laugh when I saw it.
I loved it. Yeah. Well, I would say that most of the scares didn't make me laugh. I enjoyed a lot of the scares.
There were some good images in the film.
Yeah, I liked when the kid first wakes up and she's creeping in the corner.
Yeah,
they did a really good job with darkness in this when she first sees her mom.
Yeah,
and it's just dark enough.
It's never like a jump.
Yeah,
the tongue clicking will make you jump, but that's really it.
It's funny. I have different criticisms of this film than you. Because I don't mind the stuff you're pointing out, because I tend to like a good, like this movie. We've been spoiled a lot with horror movies lately. As far as I'm concerned, this is just like a spook house horror movie.
It is.
It's designed like an art house film, but the things you're pointing out kind of points out the thing that it's just kind of a dumb horror movie.
Yeah, it's also way too long.
See that? All right. Yes. All right, this is the thing. I didn't mind the length because I was enjoying the movie, but they explain things too much. Like, I got what was going on pretty early. Like, when she visits that lady, and when they do that pull out of her apartment, you see all the satanic stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, good. She doesn't have to go look at her mother's book, and she doesn't have to say it all out loud. And they kept doing that where they would give us enough visually that I'd be like, oh, I see. But then they would have another scene where, like, okay, and for the dummies out there, I heard I was just looking at a review that kind of described it well, that this is it's it's disguised as an art house, but it's kind of like a blockbuster, a multiplex film.
Sort of. It's too long.
Yeah, but yes, that's the other thing, is that if you're just a bunch of teenagers you go and see a horror film, you're not going to be that interested in this, because they spend a lot of time on characters too. So it's sort of in this limbo in between.
Yeah.
I am curious about the internal logic, because I was sort of assuming that the demon was jumping from body to body. Like, it started in the kid, which I love that they killed that kid, because the trailer is all about that kid. So I assumed it was going to be about that fucking kid.
Yeah.
And then I assumed the demon left that kid's body. And as you're pointing out, it should have immediately went into the son.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sort of like doing the film's job for it when I say that most demon possession films seem to have this rule where the demon has to like mentally break them down and then can enter them. Like, they can't enter like a strong-willed body. But again, they even show the part where the kid gets in the accident and then he stops and just quietly drives home. Yeah, which I really liked. I liked that was but like, that seems like if I were a demon, I'd be like, "Hey, I'm slipping in you right now."
Right. It's just like, so the implication is that Grandmama put King Primian, or whatever the hell his name is, into Charlie, the little girl, when she was
from her
girl.
body. Yeah.
And then, but we didn't need to do like a complicated seance and then mental breakdown of this little girl. You just sort of did it. So like the demons.
Well, okay, hold on.
I mean, they probably did do that seance, but like, demon's already there. Like, why do we need to call him back?
I guess that actually does. Wait. So all right. So she put it in the kid's body, Charlie.
That's the implication.
Oh yeah, and she says Grandma wanted me to be a boy. So that's the whole thing there. And then I assume it was through some sort of ritual, and then the kid dies. And then maybe it is true that the demon's just sort of floating there, like doesn't have a body to go into at that point. And then they have to do another ritual. The old people have to get naked, and that's what we're seeing.
Also, why did they wait 13 years? Why did they wait for Grandma to die?
I don't know.
Like, that doesn't. That's like one of the biggest logic flaws.
Oh wait! Didn't they say that she had a disease?
Well, they said
she
that
had dementia and
she
stuff?
she had dissociative identity disorder, and then she had dementia. But it was like, why did her and all her witch friends wait over a decade until she finally died to then like start these machinations to possess the boy, which is who she was after all along?
Yeah, I have a lot of weird questions here. Why didn't she possess the boy in the first place?
They briefly say that when she goes to her group therapy meeting, she says that her husband forbade contact. They had no contact with her mother when Alex Wolff was born.
See, this is going into like them explaining too much, because I think I would have accepted this more if they didn't explain it as much.
Yeah, it's
because I sort of got it from the visuals.
Right, it's Rosemary's Baby.
Exactly, and it
that's even ends with them saying, "Hail Satan!"
Yeah, and that whole scene at the end, I didn't quite need either. I get why it was there, but that's what I mean is it felt like it kept explaining too much. If they literally say like, "Now the demon is in your body," and it's like, no, I got it. Like, they could have ended with him walking into the treehouse and then not seeing what was going on or something like that. Like, I'm fine with a bunch of sort of fucked up horror imagery, and if they keep it, man, if they keep it vague enough, I'm almost more accepting than if they tell me exactly what the hell is going on.
So like, there's just the fact that it was just the exact story of Rosemary's Baby really bummed me out.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
pretty much, yeah.
It is.
It's like, and that I think that's probably why I figured out what was going on so quickly.
Oh yeah,
it's because I was like, oh, they're doing Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
it's hard because this exists in the like, you saw The Innkeepers, right?
Yeah, and
that person's films. What else did they do?
House of the Devil.
House of the Devil. Those movies aren't original either. They're it's a pretty standard plot on both. Like, The Innkeeper's just a fucking ghost movie. But
it was good.
exactly, for me, it's about how the scares are executed. Seeing something that I haven't seen in terms of how the scary moments are portrayed on film, and so this won me over with a lot of that. There was a lot of moments where I was like, "Oh, that was a cool way."
There's a lot of good imagery in the film.
Yeah, and
it's technically a very good film.
yeah, and in terms of like horror, like it has jump scares in it, but the jump scares are done well.
Right. It's more of it's creepy, and
Yeah.
the horror images are horrific.
Yeah, it's just not a great story.
Yeah, it's just none of the imagery felt earned to me because it was like. Particularly the accident, because we're shown, when he's on the way to the party, they pass that light post and it's got the little symbol etched into it. So we're to understand that this witch coven engineered that accident, but that's a big ask.
That makes no fucking sense why they would do that.
That is a big ask.
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
Because there's so many parts
right.
to that for that to happen. Like she has to insist that Charlie goes with Peter to the party.
Yeah.
He has to get to the party and ditch her. She has to eat something with nuts in it and have an allergic reaction. And she has to be leaning out the window trying to get air, and there has to be a deer in the road, and he's got to swerve, and her head's got to smash into the telephone
It could
pole.
be like an Omen situation where he Final Destinations it. Like Satan's up there making a bunch of
but it's
hilarious
in the
mishaps.
Omen. In the Omen, it's exactly like Final Destination, where it's like it's a Rube Goldberg, but it's all in that situation.
Yeah,
like this is like a 3-hour plan.
Well, no, it's more than a 3-hour plan, because when you're talking about it, I realized what happened is the dad didn't let the coven access to the son, so they must have been like, okay, we're gonna put this demon in the daughter, and we're gonna wait, we're gonna sit on it, and we're gonna find a good opportunity to kill the daughter, so the demon will transfer over into the son. Like that must have been the plan, right?
I'm sure that was the plan, but like.
And so, like,
asking me to believe they orchestrated this accident it's
tough.
It's impossible.
Well, okay, yeah. I'm thinking of movies like, yeah. I was gonna say Rosemary's Baby. They do stuff where like the rival actor goes blind and stuff like that.
That's
magic. That's
like,
better. I was about to say that's better because that's like you can see a curse. This is like it's the fact that they called their shot so specifically, where they were like this telephone pole.
Yeah.
That's very fucking weird.
Yeah, and then like
man,
we don't
it's not a good story.
No.
I don't think I think you're absolutely right. It's insane that it has I think it has a very high critics rating and a very low or a lower audience score. I wonder if it's for this reason. I want to read reviews if there's anything I'm missing about it, but even if there was, I don't think that excuses the story being sloppy.
Right, because it keeps going back and forth between whether or not there is evil magic.
Right.
Because it seems like a lot of it's being done like that scene where Ann Dowd is shouting at Peter from across the street, "I expel you, Peter."
Right.
That never pays off. I guess the implication is she's trying to expel him from his own body so the demon can come in, but then none of that matters. Like that scene doesn't matter because he just jumps out the window and dies, and then the demon goes into his body.
But maybe that is. It
was just he wanted the director wanted that image because it's a creepy thing to have somebody standing across. It's all for you, Damien.
That makes okay sense to me, because if the implication then is that they're trying to get his soul out of the body so that the demon can go in, and she failed.
But then why orchestrate that elaborate thing at the house that night? Why randomly send one person in your coven to the kid's school to shout a spell at him from across the street if you know you're going to roll deep into their house that night and do like the creep ritual and mom's going to fly? Like it's just a series of images that he wanted to have, and there's very little justification for them in the narrative.
Yeah, I mean that I guess I don't mind that much, that specific part, because she could also just be a lunatic.
Well,
like it's just this coven is just a bunch of creepy, crazy old people. But it's the fact that it's so organized at the end is like, again, it's if there was less organization, less like a very specific plot outlined of what they were doing, it would make more sense, because it does seem like they really planned ahead.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense.
No. They planned for things they can't possibly have planned for.
Right.
Because it anticipates people reacting in a very specific way.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. I'm curious how this movie is going to be remembered, because again, there's some really, the part where he looks up and there's the fucking naked old man smiling in the,
all that stuff is great.
yeah, that was like, that made me laugh because of how horrific it is.
There's some,
I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, there is some truly shocking and
Yeah.
scary images in the film. I'm not going to deny.
But the plot is kind of trash. But I guess this is what's making me wonder how this movie will be remembered. As I'm going back in my head and trying to remember, like, is this just the case with a lot of famous horror movies?
I think so, because like Suspiria is not a particularly strong story.
Yeah.
It's a neat mystery.
Yeah, but it's that's another movie that's very much about how it looks.
It's imagery, yeah.
Yeah.
The Exorcist isn't much of a story.
No, The Exorcist I think has more internal logic, I believe, than this.
I think the internal logic of The Exorcist is pretty sound, yeah. But
I guess, well, because do we ever really know what Satan wants in The Exorcist? Is he just trying to fuck with everybody? I forget. They find that artifact, and I assume that's what.
they tie it in, yeah, but it's they keep it pretty vague.
Yeah, and again, vagueness helps. Rosemary's Baby is just a very clear idea.
Rosemary's Baby is solid.
Yeah,
like the logic is sound.
Even if there is like some problems in that, the overall like symbolism of that film of just showing a woman like losing control of her body and being afraid of her pregnancy and stuff, and it's like it's just so good with.
Yeah,
and this tries to do that. There's a lot of psychological stuff with the mourning and the blaming each other, and like you can't tell what's influence from the demon and what's just these people having a nervous breakdown.
Right, because Toni Collette has just like a long history of mental illness in the family.
And I didn't mind that.
Yeah, like it's interesting to do a movie about grief as a horror movie, which I think we've talked about before, like with like Lake Mungo.
Yeah, like Mungo did that. A few. The Babadook did that as well.
Babadook, yeah. This is more about. I mean, Babadook is a much better film. I appreciate what it was trying to do, where it's like, okay, this movie is about grief destroying a family.
Right.
Like this family does not recover from
right.
the loss.
Yes, but it's also about like a demon. But it's also about a
demon just sawing people's heads off left and right.
Again, see, that was good imagery.
So many decapitations in this film.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the demon's like go-to move. It fucking loved that move.
Gruesome decapitations.
Yeah. Yeah, when she's using
just sawing her head off, and
yeah.
you can, and like it's. I mean, it's a. Again, like I can't hate this movie because it has a lot of images that will stick with me for a while.
I don't know if the writer and the director are the same person, but I will basically say he should direct more and maybe have a writing partner.
Right, yeah, right with somebody.
Because I think the overall premise is fine.
It's a good premise, yeah.
Yeah, I like the premise, but there are like. Yeah, it's a lot of little things.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's a good premise. It's Rosemary's Baby. Like we know that's a good premise.
Yeah.
You're being gaslit by Satanists.
Yeah, but the like the concept of her hanging herself with that wire and then sitting there sawing, and then they do they do the great thing where the son looks over, sees the fucking naked old people, and does what anybody would do, is jump directly out the window of the house. And then you hear the
and then that thump.
Boom, boom, as they're panning down. Like it's great filmmaking. It's great directing.
Yeah, this is technically a very good film.
Yeah. And so I'm excited to see what this director will do next. And I do get why critics are rock hard for it, because the acting is great
for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I liked everybody in it.
There's a couple of false notes from Alex Wolff, but which
one's Alex Wolff?
He's Peter. It's in a couple. It's the time I noticed it is when they do the seance and he starts crying. I was like, that's not a good cry.
Oh, okay.
But like this movie asks a lot of him.
Yeah,
and he's a pretty
the
young
part
actor,
where he's
so.
in class and
Yeah.
he does that weird choking thing is like, oh no.
And his reaction when he smashes his head on his desk.
Yeah.
It's in the trailer, but it's great.
Man, yeah, what
Like
an exhausting role.
He's mostly really good in this film. It's just there's a couple of beats where it's
That's
like,
fair.
oh. But again, this movie asks a lot from him, and it asks a lot from Toni Collette.
Yeah, she does great.
Gabriel Byrne doesn't have to do much.
Gabriel Byrne just has to be exasperated for the whole movie.
He's got to be exhausted.
Yeah.
That's his.
This has nothing to do with him. Where does he work? What is he like?
I think he's a lawyer.
I was thinking he works in like an ad agency or something.
Or no, he might be a doctor. I think because the movie starts with an obituary. I think they say he's a doctor in
Okay.
the obituary.
That was a decent idea for exposition. Well, all right. That was okay idea for exposition, opening on an obituary.
It was an interesting, yeah.
There was some expositional parts that I was like, man, I hope this pays off. Because like when she goes to the group therapy session and basically just says the plot of what's happened, that felt really sweaty. But at least they work all of that in, like that it's not just a scene where she goes and does that and then we never see it again.
Yeah.
Because when that first happened, I was like, man, this better be something, because otherwise that's awful.
She's just delivering exposition.
Yeah. Which it was still not great, but
That's still what it was. She never goes back inside. She goes back and then encounters Ann Dowd.
yeah. Which was enough, but it was, I think any intelligent person watching this will see that scene and be like, oh, this is a thing. This is exposition. This is...
Yeah.
I like, my favorite exposition is the stuff where, you don't realize it's exposition until later.
It's hard to do, but
It really is, because when you get to a certain age, you realize basically every line said in a movie means something.
yeah.
Yeah. If it's well written.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm thinking about shit.
Sure. I like thinking about shit.
I like thinking about shit.
Okay.
Yeah,
we
the
haven't
rules,
really
rules about the book, like that didn't make any goddamn sense.
throwing the book.
Like, why would her daughter's sketchbook
Yeah,
make her catch on fire, make her husband? Like, why was
Again,
that
that's
an
why-
important
all right.
artifact?
That's why this all leads me to think that it's classic demon rules of I'm just trying to fuck with everybody. Like the demon just has a sense of humor. Like that's sort of what I'm assuming from that. Is that it's a demon. It's a demon just slowly trying to break down this family until they destroy each other, and that negative energy is enough to allow him to enter the body. Right?
I guess.
But they don't say that. And there's a million demon movies that do say it, and I hate it when they say it.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of I don't want to be mad at the movie for not saying it, but I feel like there needs to be some sort of implication of that then. Like in The Omen, when the devil does stuff, you can very clearly see
know
what the
why
devil
he's doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like well, I would say the nanny hanging herself is a little out there. Like it doesn't make much sense. I love that scene.
It's her. Well, she has to die to get the new nanny in.
Right. Oh, it's all for you. Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Every
Yeah.
Rube Goldberg machine happens for a reason.
Yeah, that's true.
In The Omen.
Yeah, and this one, it's just like...
It's just kind of like, I want to see this fucking horrific shit.
Yeah.
And you see it.
Oh, you see it.
This movie is... this is brutal.
This was another thing, and there's so much of it in the movie that it can't not mean something, but I didn't really catch on any greater meaning of it, is that our main character, her job is making dollhouses, little...
Oh, they don't have any control over their lives.
Yeah, there we go.
They're being manipulated by...
Yeah, that makes sense.
By the demon cartel, like dolls in a house.
Right. I guess that's just not... I mean, that makes sense.
That's as deep
but
as I...
Yeah, that's not
figure.
as deep as I assumed it was.
For it to be such a focal point.
Right. But again, it's a good idea. It's just that if that's what it is, you could put that in almost every movie.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a real...
it worked in this because it was creepy.
It's creepy.
It reminded me of another movie, which I'm sure someone will comment on what it's named because I don't remember, where there's a dollhouse in that movie and they did a really clever thing where it was another ghost movie, and she's looking in the dollhouse, and she can see things that are happening like in the place she is, and then she sees herself, and someone's standing behind her in the dollhouse, and she has to turn around, and of course nothing's there. But it's like a nice creepy use of a dollhouse.
I thought they were going to do something like that with this.
Yeah, me too. I thought something creepy was going to happen.
And because it begins zooming in on Peter's bedroom, Peter asleep in bed, because he's the goal in the movie. I thought it was going to end the same way, where he was going to be. It was going to zoom back out, and it was going to be him sort of like that last scene where he's like walking around looking for his parents and nobody's there. Like, I thought it was going to zoom out because it seemed like it was going to do that.
Right.
To have it be him in the dollhouse, and it's like he's not in his own body anymore.
Yeah. No, none of that.
No, it's he follows his floating Tony Collette's headless body up to the treehouse where they have a shrine built with his sister's dead head.
They showed that shot in the trailer of the body like floating up into the treehouse, and that's when I kind of wish they didn't show it in the trailer.
That's a big giveaway.
Yeah. Well, it's a big giveaway once you get through enough of the movie where you're like, okay, something fucked up's happening with that treehouse.
Yeah.
And when you get to the part where he wakes up, it's just like, okay, something's absolutely, it's going to end at that treehouse. Like when he gets in the attic, it's like, no, this isn't where it ends. And it's going to end in that treehouse because I saw the trailer.
Gets in the attic and they linger on that window. Like, I knew he was jumping out the window.
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew either that or I was assuming she would fucking jump through the window because she's banging her head on the attic door, and I thought she was going to scurry away like a little monkey and like swing through the window like a maniac or something.
No, she just transubstantiated into the attic.
Right.
To hang herself with
How
piano
did
wire.
she get in the attic?
Who knows?
Well, also, I'm trying to think of what. Yeah, this is definitely one where it's like, oh man, it's like the Joker's plan or something like that, where it's like, okay, they wanted him in that attic too, right?
Yeah.
So all the old people were hanging out. And they were like sitting in the yard.
Attic.
They're sitting in the yard waiting for him to wake up. And they're like, okay, well, he's gonna come downstairs and he'll see his dad burnt, and then we'll have our demon Tony Collette
chase him upstairs.
And naturally he'll go into the attic. Although, did they open the attic for him? This seems like they were like herding a cat, like trying to get a cat in the bathroom.
I can't remember if he opens it or not, or if I think it was already open.
Yeah. So maybe one of the old people like giggled and like brought it down.
Well, they had to because they had to take Grandmama's body out of the attic.
Right, and they went to the demon. They're like, "Hey, you gotta get him up into the attic." Yeah. And so they were up in the attic all giggling, and then he runs up, and they're all like shh, 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 like waiting, like all excited because he doesn't know they're there.
Yeah, and then they had to go.
That's why they're smiling.
They had
so
to go
much.
back downstairs after he jumps to the window and get into the treehouse because we see those three people in the treehouse.
Wait just a fucking second. So is it the same three? I thought there was like a whole lot of old people.
There is a lot, but I thought they were all I thought we saw them all again in the treehouse.
Because that means when he's walking to the treehouse, they're all just standing in the woods for no reason. Mm-hmm. Okay. That feels weird.
Well,
I'm not sure why that's happening, unless those are different old people.
I don't know.
And then, of course, the naked guy standing in the doorway, now that I think of it, was probably going to the kitchen to get a snack.
Yeah, he was waiting.
Yeah, and then like walked in and it was just like, oh, hey. Yeah. That fucking guy.
That is a hell of an image.
Yeah.
Like
it's terrifying, and then I think it's kind of funny now. Like now that I'm over it.
Right, because it's so like
yeah. It's so jarring.
Like,
that fucking smile.
Yeah. And they're all doing it too, like in the attic.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Which again, it feels like they're just planning it. Like they're just trying to freak him out at that point. Or they're just crazy.
That's just joy.
Yeah, or that's
like,
just
finally
pure...
the king of hell is going to give us riches. And why? Why would he do that?
It's Rosemary's Baby's rule where just don't trust old people.
Yeah.
You get to a certain age and you're like,
Satan.
well, where you're like, God didn't do anything for me. Let's bet on the other guy. Mm-hmm. We got very little time left. Let's make a decision. You know, like they were probably on the fence for a while.
It's not even Satan. It's like
it's like
some other guy. It's like middle management. Now.
Yeah.
It's like, God, you guys really made a specific pick there.
I don't mind that because like if you're a fan of like Tom Hanks, mm-hmm. you're never gonna meet Tom Hanks, but if you're a fan of like Dean Cain, you could probably contact. You could probably get in contact with Dean Cain
Get a
and meet
message to Dean Cain.
Yeah, like they lowered their standards a bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know where this takes place, but it might not be somewhere that Satan's particularly cares about. It was somewhere with forests and
I was
like desert
assuming
mountains.
like Pacific Northwest, maybe.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Washington or upstate California.
It didn't really matter for the plot.
No, it's not relevant.
But there was some stuff because they were mostly in the woods. And then there was a shot when she goes to like the arts and crafts store that it looked very much like desert in the background. And I was like, where the fuck is this place? But yeah, it had nothing to do with the plot.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. What are they going to... Okay. Second question. I guess, all right. I guess he's just going to disappear. But like people are going to be looking for them, right? There's the art gallery people.
You would assume, yeah.
Yeah, like I think he's just going to bounce, right?
Probably.
Like, and he's a demon. He doesn't care.
Right.
I'm sure he has a support system.
It ends on him giving this look that seems he's not going to do what these people want him to do.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of cool. I was like, I kept having these moments where I'm like, and it ends. And it ends. And like they put the crown on him, and I'd be like, "Good, you can end it there." And then they're like, "You are now possessed by," and I was like,
right.
"Okay, stop."
You're explaining to the demon the events that he witnessed.
Yeah.
If we're to assume that he's the reason Toni Collette can fly, it's like, yeah, he saw all this.
Yeah, and it was that. It was a lot of messy exposition. That wasn't. I didn't feel like it. Like it felt like they underestimated their audience. Maybe that's a producer who stepped in, but I'm guessing not because this doesn't look like it had reshoots or anything.
Yeah,
I'm guessing they thought they had to spell it out more than they had to. I would have accepted a lot less exposition for a movie like this.
Yeah, because it's clear at that point. Like, I wonder, because all of that stuff at the end, now you have possessed, like, that's all off screen. Like, it's just a close-up of Peter's face.
Which is good directing.
So
but
I'm wondering if that was added in.
Maybe.
If it was just a long shot of him wearing that crown and his face kind of changing.
But if we're going by Rosemary Baby rules, you could also kind of say that the ending of Rosemary's Baby is like all this exposition that it gets away with it because there's a character in the room who doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I guess the idea is that this kid isn't like he's possessed by the demon, but like he's still also himself, so they need to explain it to him. I
don't know.
I'm assuming that's what their reasons are.
I think he's all demon at that point.
You would think, right? I couldn't tell if he died when he jumped out that window.
I feel like he probably did.
Yeah, it would kill you.
It's like a 2 or 3 story drop flat on his face
right.
after diving through a window.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if you have to be dead or just like broken.
Well, he possessed. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Again,
like seeing your mom levitate in the air and sawing her own head off with a piece of piano wire, and then 3 strange old people in the corner just grinning like maniacs at you.
They'll do it.
That would probably snap the last bit of sanity you had.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I like the ant stuff.
The ant stuff was cool. There's so many images.
The dream when she lights them on fire. That was great.
Yeah.
It was shot really well.
All the imagery in this movie is great. It's just it's the narrative is not good.
Yeah, I think I would have simply said cut a lot of the exposition.
Yeah.
Like less is more in this case.
You cut about 20 minutes out of this film, I think.
Yeah, I think about movies like The Witch, like where they don't really, they don't explain what. Like, I guess they don't need to. There's not as much to explain there in The Witch, but they don't explain like why the coven's there, what do they want, why they're recruiting her.
But the implication is there.
The implications.
They're all outcast people and. She's an outcast person. They engineered her outcast.
Exactly.
But,
yeah. Yeah. They just don't like, and the stuff with like, this like the son in The Witch, where he goes out and then he comes back and he's speaking gibberish. We don't really know why that happens.
No,
it
but
doesn't but it doesn't matter because they're not trying to build like I guess a bigger narrative.
Yeah. We don't need to know what happened to him in there.
Yeah, because that's how the movie kind of handles itself, where
Yeah.
I can sort of accept it more.
Yeah.
Which again doesn't. It's weird because like that's still like you could say they should explain that.
I don't know, because I feel like with horror we don't have, the unknown is fine.
Yeah,
We don't have to know everything.
especially if it's from the perspective of like a group of people, like,
Right.
And I guess that's
It can't be that the characters know and you don't, but like it's fine if the characters don't know.
well, I'm okay if the characters don't know and if I don't too. If I'm just seeing the movie from the perspective of those characters, right?
Yeah.
Like I guess that's it with this movie, is that we're seeing it all kind of from this family's perspective, and we're seeing like bits and pieces of this this cult, these Satanists. And when that's happening at first, I'm sort of like, okay, that makes sense. But it's really that last sequence they're talking about that makes me I don't know. It's kind of silly.
It is. I mean, some of the imagery was neat.
Well, I'd say a lot of it.
Like I'm talking about in the end scene. Like the headless body floating into the treehouse. That's
yeah, that was a
pretty
great
good.
imagery.
The statue with the head on it, and the music. The music was good in that scene.
Yeah, the music was good pretty much throughout.
Throughout, yeah.
It was very. It was. I mean, they're definitely bringing back a very old school style of.
Yeah, this is very much like a
Filmmaking.
1970s horror movie.
Yeah, the directing, like the cinematography. Every time the camera panned, I felt suspense.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what was gonna be around that corner, basically.
Yeah, and it's freaky. Like the first image of
Yeah.
her mom just in the back, also doing
Right.
that creepy ass smile.
Right, and they do the thing that horror movies used to do that I like more than jump scares, where they show the character reacting to what they see first, and then
Right.
they show the thing, and that's creepier than me than trying to
Right.
surprise me. Yeah, like it's like seeing that horror on their face and having that built up, and if the payoff is good, then it really works out.
Yeah, the ants when she walks in and it's just Toni Collette's reaction.
Or when she sees her mom, like it's
Yeah. When she sees her mom, the discovery of Charlie's body was excellent.
oh yeah, when he's
Where it's
in
just
bed.
it's a super close up on Peter's face, and you're just hearing like the mom be like, "Okay, I'm going out to the store. You need anything? No, I'm good. All right, I'll be back in about 20 minutes." And you're waiting for it because you know what's going to happen. And then you hear the door open, and she just starts screaming at the top of her lungs over and over again. And then it cuts to the severed head in the middle of the highway.
Oh,
with ants
yeah.
all over it, and you're still listening to Toni Collette just shrieking hysterically.
That was great because I wasn't entirely sure what had happened. Like I knew obviously the pole had hit her in the head.
Yeah.
I didn't know it took the head clean off. I wasn't sure if the body had fallen out or not. And then he drives home and the realization that the body's been in the back the whole time.
There's stuff about this movie that I really liked.
It's a lot of moments. It's
Yeah.
a lot of moments that you're right that this is probably something the director had in mind. A lot of these moments, and
Yeah.
we're like, I want to put these in a film. And I bet you could still have all of these moments in a film and make it work. I actually think the easiest fix was just tell us less.
Tell us less, yeah.
I think we would be less concerned about the internal logic if it was sort of just a little less dialogue, a little less exposition. And that's weird saying it. I still feel weird saying that about a movie.
Yeah. I don't know, but I think that's correct
Yeah.
for this movie.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
it needs to be shorter.
Yeah, how long was it?
A little over 2 hours.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it felt a little... Yeah, it felt... I don't mind a long horror movie. Typically, they should be an hour and a half for horror movies, I think. 90 minutes. Because I feel like horror movies, if you don't... Most horror movies don't have a lot to say, you know? But
Yeah,
this...
this had some stuff to say.
Yeah, I didn't mind the length, but I would say maybe trim it down to 2 hours.
Yeah, there's a couple of you could easily cut 6-7 minutes out of this
Yeah.
film.
Just as, like, the shit where she's explaining it to her husband and, like there's, yeah.
I don't know. It's, again...
The stuff with, like, the seances.
Why did he catch on fire?
Probably didn't need the seance stuff.
I mean, it was creepy.
It was creepy.
Like, I get it, because so much of it is this family imploding and breaking each other down and building up all the tension in the house. Mm-hmm. And you really start to dread being in that house.
Yeah. That creates that tension.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, they're getting scammed. They're getting scammed by Satanists. They're like,
gaslit.
read this thing in your house.
Read this language.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Just read it. Make sure everybody's in the house.
Who kept writing the words on the walls?
Oh yeah. All right. This is why I thought like the father had something to do with it. Is I thought we were gonna get like a twist where like, oh, he was in on it the whole time because someone was fucking writing on those walls, and someone and that means
unless
like
she's doing it sleepwalking, because the sleepwalking doesn't really seem to pay off. Maybe
the sleepwalking I interpreted as like her subconscious knows something's wrong.
Right. Her not being it's her not being in control.
Yeah. Who was writing shit in that house? Because I do not believe it was some naked old person running around that house.
No.
Putting a body upstairs. That's why I just suspected the father, because I was like, someone's in on it. You know, when he finds out the body has been dug up and he doesn't say anything, it's very easy to think like, oh, he wants to protect her.
Yeah.
But I thought the reveal was going to be like, oh, he doesn't want her to know because he's also a Satanist or something. You know, like I and then when he gets lit on fire and then she's instantly like possessed, I was just like, okay, so did the demon go from him to her?
That whole sequence is very confusing. But if he's the demon, it doesn't make sense in that scene.
No, it doesn't.
It's like why she tries to burn the book and it sets him on fire instead of her.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody was the demon until from the child to her, right? Because the kids keep seeing that glowy shit, and that's the demon. Yeah. That's what we learn is that light, that reflective light. And so I think he's just like he or she, whatever. Oh, no, it's a he, the demon.
It's a he.
Is just like hanging out for a while. And then like jumps in her body.
I guess, again, not clear because we don't see the shimmer then.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happens during the
her
seance.
performance is great when she's like looks horrified and then suddenly like she's different. That was great. But yeah, I don't know what that demon's doing. I'd love to see it from the point of view of the demon.
I always want to see it from the point of view of these demons.
Yeah.
What are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, we've talked about this with Paranormal Activity, where if you watch it and imagine the demons in the room like pushing shit around, it's like, what the fuck, man? Why are you doing that? Are you bored?
What are you doing?
There's TV, you know. Like, just watch some TV.
Yeah.
That's the most realistic scene is in shit. Not Insidious, but The Conjuring. The Conjuring 2, where the demon's just fighting over the remote. Or the ghost. There's a scene where she literally is fighting over a TV remote with a ghost. And it's like, yeah, that's what you would do if you're a ghost.
Right, because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah,
you have
fucking
some
sit there.
Limited manipulation of objects.
Yeah.
Turn the TV on, man.
Yeah. Fucking watch the game or whatever. I don't know.
However,
it must suck. Yeah, whatever ghosts watch.
That ghost programming. You got to break into that sweet, lucrative ghost demo.
I'm wondering what ghosts watch. Probably reruns. Probably whatever they were alive for.
Yeah. A lot of TV land.
That's a shame. Man, I don't know what else to say about this. We're 43 minutes in.
I think that's an acceptable length.
Yeah, I think so too.
Final thoughts any have?
I'm gonna be talking about this movie for a bit, I think.
Okay.
That's my thoughts on this film is that I love a good I love horror. And if the imagery is good, then I'll accept a lot more in a movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm curious to see what happens with this movie in the future, what people think of it. And where it places itself in the ranks of possession movies, demon possession movies. Any final thoughts yourself? That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Good final thought.
yeah, that's my final thought. No, I like. There's a lot of stuff that I liked about the movie, but like I said at the top, I was really disappointed in how derivative it was.
Yeah,
because it is just Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
it ends the same way.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It could have been. They could have set this in an apartment complex and changed a little bit around, and it would have been a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rosemary's Baby is basically if the Satanists were just a little more motivated, and we're like, no, don't let it, like, get it right in the womb.
Yeah.
Don't
right
fucking wait for it to become a teenager. You know how hard it is to make a teenager do anything?
Yeah, you can't get them to do shit.
Yeah. No. There's a lesson to be learned here. Satanists. Get your shit together.
He kept hanging out under the bleachers and getting high with his friends after he ripped his sister's head off.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's how hard they had to work to get
Demon's watching that like, are you fucking serious?
Serious?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I thought that would have done it.
Yeah.
I guess not.
Yeah. No, they're terrible people. Teenagers.
Yeah, they really are.